Hello, everyone. Hey, you guys, it is so okay. Can you guys hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yes? Okay. Baby, sometimes the devil don't want you to be great, but not tonight. All right, give me 1 second, you guys. Okay, all right. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. So that means you didn't hear my whole vibe music when it started and you didn't hear the sound on my intro. That sucks. Anyway, again, like I said, sometimes the devil don't want you to be great, but we're gonna keep rolling because technology happens. As I was saying, because you guys only saw my mouth moving and you could not hear me, thank you for joining me tonight. I have been so looking forward to talk about this topic, and so I want to tell you how this topic actually came about. So this year in May, yeah, you missed it, Cheryl. Like it was so cute, but that's okay. You'll catch it the next time. So this past May, Vicky was having her second annual women brunch, and I was going to attend, but Vicky called me at 12 a.m. the night before the event and said, "Hey, can you speak tomorrow at the brunch?" And I did say 12 a.m. Vicky called me. So I said, "What do you want me to talk about?" Hey, Makipa, the Wi-Fi is causing a drop in the audio. So is it hard for you to hear me? Like, is it going in and out? Hey, Meek Meek, is it going in and out, you guys? Or can you hear me clear? If you can hear me, okay, great. So she asked me would I speak at her women's brunch the day after she called me at 12 a.m. in the morning. So I asked her, so what do you want me to talk about? And she said, I don't know. And I was like, well, you need to be specific because I don't know what you're talking about because you're calling me literally at 12 a.m. in the morning to ask me to speak tomorrow. And so she says, I don't know, but I know you going to know what's right. I said, okay, here we go. Sunday came, and as I was going through the day, I was thinking about, ooh, I haven't prepared anything, but what am I feeling in my gut? And literally, when I said it, I said, ooh, that's it. We're going to talk about the power of the womb. What's going on in our womb? What's going on in this gut? And in that moment, everything clicked and it made sense. So, baby, when I tell you I brought it. So I thought that not only was that information good for those ladies at the brunch, but I needed to bring it back. And this is me bringing it back for a three-part series. We are going to talk about the power of the womb. And if you're listening thinking, I don't even know what this is, what are we talking about? I'm so glad to stay in your seat because I'm about to tell you. Now, look here, I come from a church background, and even though I cannot hear you, I can read those comments. So I need you to respond to me like good old church folks. I need you to engage. I need you to talk back, ask some questions, make some comments, all that good stuff, right? So let's talk about the womb. What is the womb? Well, when we think in terms of the seven chakras, the womb has a chakra, right? And we're made up of energy, and energy flows through our entire body from our head to our feet. But oftentimes we forget about the womb chakra. So let me tell you why the womb is so amazing, you guys. This place right here can create life, as we all know. But not only can it create life, it is also the place where we hold our creativity. It is our place of our happiness and our joy. But at the same place, it also holds our pain and our trauma. Unknowing to us, we carry things in the womb that we have no idea are there. And then it begins to show up in our everyday lives. Unconsciously, we have no clue that while we just cursed somebody out with the power of his tongue, was really because there was some stuff in the womb that wasn't dealt with. So I want to talk about what happens when we carry stuff in our womb. But first, I would like for you to imagine, if you will, a place that seems like it's an endless void, but it's not. But it appears to be this place of endless void. And in this space, you can add things to it as you like. And over time, like any other space that you add things to, it gets filled. And if you do not remove some things from this space, it can get cluttered. It can get downright packed to the place where you're no longer able to add things in. But yet we keep trying. We keep pushing stuff in the womb without pushing things out of the womb. So I want to give you an example. So I've often been told that I am a bit OCD. Now, look here, in case you do not know who I am, My name is Dr. Tanisha Guy. I am a licensed professional counselor. I've been in the mental health field now for 22 years. I've been practicing in private practice for 14 years, and I've been teaching as a professor for 17 years. So when people talk about things like OCD, I'm very familiar with it. Thank you, Cheryl. Now, again, I'm not OCD, but I may have some OCD tendencies, if you will. So I want to talk about that. I like order. And when things are not orderly, it creates chaos for me internally. So my physical space needs to have some order. For example, let me show you. I'm all about the experience, and sometimes you just got to show instead of talk. So I have a set of these downstairs, and they're right in front of the bar. Well, normally, as you all hopefully can see, the chairs face back so you can face the bar. Well, if I should happen to walk past and the chair looks like this, I have to stop myself in my tracks and turn around and literally go back and turn the chair around. Because for me, it's out of order and it creates chaos. Now, for some of us, that doesn't bother you, right? We all have our little idiosyncrasies about us. But imagine if every time we had an experience, we dropped it in this chair or in another chair or in a corner or in the back of our space somewhere in the house. Every time we experience people and things, we take it in through our womb. It is an experience, whether it is good or bad, that we take in and absorb. But then what we fail to do is decide, what do I do with all of these things that I have now dropped off in this space called my womb that I'm not doing anything with? Do I remove some things that are unnecessary? Or do I keep just building it on top of each other, one on top of the other, until eventually it gets so cluttered that my space makes me feel like I'm closed in, like I'm almost suffocating? For anybody who has ever experienced an anxiety attack, it feels like that individual is having a heart attack. They have difficulty breathing, their heart is beating fast, and oftentimes the world feels like it is closing in on them all at once. Let me tell you about anxiety. People have all these explanations about what anxiety is and what is causing it, but no one stops to talk about the womb and how the things that we are putting in our womb and not dealing with is showing up in our exterior, like anxiety and some other things that I'm going to talk about. But definitely, anxiety is a big one. That I cannot breathe, I am gasping for air, my heart feels like somebody is stepping on it, and literally, I am dying. See, that womb is filled to capacity. And our body has this amazing way of talking to us and saying, look here, boo boo kitty, you need to do something about this. But like most of us women who wear our superwoman cape all the time, we just ignore it and we keep moving. And we say, oh, I'll get to that stuff later. And then later becomes the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year. But guess what? All along, this womb is filled. And it would be great, Shirley, if we could close up the womb, but then we would probably die because we need the energy to flow in and out. So while we're constantly taking in these things and the womb is telling us, pay attention to you, pay attention to us, something is wrong, we ignore it. So I want to ask you, do I have your permission to share my own personal experience? Because since you logged onto my live, we family now. We gonna talk now. So let me know in the chat if I have your permission to share. Because we're gonna get into this as we talk about what you carry in your womb. So when I say that there is power in our womb, it is the place that we create life for some. But it is also a place that can become a dark hole, baby. If y'all don't know what the dark hole is, let me tell you about it. So, years ago, when I started having a cycle, now I didn't know what I know today back then. I did not know that what I was experiencing At the time, I thought it was cramp. But let me tell you about these cramps, y'all. See, I just didn't have cramps, right? Like, go take an Advil and keep moving. I had some debilitating cramps. I had some cramps that had you on the floor, balled up in a fetal position, teary eyed cramps. Like, I don't know if y'all know about these, but them the ones that I had. And I had them for years, you guys. When I say years, I mean years. And then all of a sudden, I started playing sports and running track and doing cheerleading and all these things physically. And then my body said, okay, you're doing something different. All right, so we gonna do something different to you. And I was like, okay, whatever that means. And you guys, I went without having a cycle for months. Months, you guys. And if you're thinking she was pregnant, no ma'am, no ham, no sir, I was not pregnant. But my body said, okay, we're gonna switch up. We're gonna remove these cramps and this pain, and you're not going to have any pain. It was almost as if my body understood that, look here, I don't know if I could take too many more years of this. I'm gonna need some help. And the womb responded and said, stop, cease, and assist. And for years it did. And I was like, okay, I don't know what this is about, but you ain't got to come back. But unfortunately, they came back. Oh, they came back. And let me tell y'all, they came back with a vengeance, you guys. Oh, again, these just weren't no normal cramps. These were some cramps from the devil himself. When I tell you, it was some pain like no other pain, and it was deep rooted in my stomach. At the time, I didn't know that I was experiencing some wound trauma. I didn't know that. I didn't know that I needed to heal the wound, and this is what was going on. I just knew I was in pain. And it wasn't until I was working on my doctorate, and I think I was 26, 27, 27. And I was at my normal checkup like I had always done. And the doctor said, so how long have you had fibroids? I said, say what? What did you just say? She says, how long have you had fibroids? You guys, I was 26, 27. I didn't even know what a fibroid was, let alone add to answer her question and say how long I had it. I didn't know. I just knew my pain had come back, but my pain was even worse than it was before. And so she was the first person to tell me, even though year after year I was having these regular visits and checkups, she was the first person to tell me, ma'am, you have fibroids and you probably need to see a specialist. What is a fibroid and how do you get rid of it? That was my response to her. So she said, yeah, there are several options, but let me send you to this particular specialist who can explain this to you better. At that particular time, you guys, my pain was so horrible. I didn't care who she referred me to, what they told me, just as long as these fibroids disappeared and the pain went with it. So I went to a specialist who said, yes, you have fibroids. And at that particular time, my stomach was the size of a 6 month pregnancy. And for those of you ladies who have had babies, you understand what that looks like. And let me tell you why I was confused, because at that particular time, I was still working out. I was running every day. I mean, I was getting it in my 20s. I was fine, fit, and sexy. Do you hear me? But I couldn't get rid of this bulge. So I knew something was wrong. I just didn't know what was wrong, right? Like, why don't I have no pack no more? What happened to the pack? Because she used to be there. Like, literally, now it's a case. And it ain't the case that I want. But I found out it was the fibroids. Who knew? So I went to the doctor. Long story short, we went through the process. I had my first myomectomy. And I did say first myomectomy. And so, again, I was in my 20s, my late 20s, but physically I was pretty fit. And so I do remember the procedure like it was yesterday. And I remember the day I woke up from the surgery, or after the surgery, I guess. And anyone who's had a surgery, you know, they give you the good medication. They give you the pump. Like, you ain't even got to ask nobody. You just pump. Wake up and pump and go back to sleep. That's kind of how I was right after the surgery. I really don't remember. But I do remember day two. Day 2, they said, you got to get up and walk. And I was like, I'm not about to get up and walk. Because I feel pain from the rooter to the tutor, but I think you only cut in some place. So what I found out, you guys, that the very thing that I told my doctor I did not want was the very thing he did. So I told him, I don't want stitches. I mean, I don't want staples. I want stitches. And I don't want to be cut from my belly button down. Those are the two things I don't want. When I was able to see the scar, when the bandages were removed, you guys, I had staples and a scar from my belly button all the way down. And immediately I remember grabbing my wound because I knew, oh, you done did some damage. I mean, it was damaged before, but clearly you have definitely done some damage. I looked at the scar and I immediately knew there is something going on in here. There was something that was going on in there that I didn't even know about that created these fibroids. And even though if you research today and talk to anybody, they will tell you there's no rhyme or reason. Certain people have it. Maybe it's because of diet, maybe it's genetics, all of those things. I don't know. But I do know it was in my womb. I do know that it was holding space that should have been for something else, like creativity, like peace, like joy. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I did not have those things. But if it was definitely being filled by a 6-month ovary, it could have occupied some other stuff there that would have been more beneficial for me. So when I talk about the womb, let me tell you what I learned. So I had my first surgery at 27. I am now 46. If I knew then what I know now, oh, you guys, I would have been doing my work a whole lot sooner. So, as I stated, I am a licensed professional counselor and I've been in the mental health field for 22 years. I have seen and worked with a lot of clients. And one of the things I pride myself in is creating a safe space for my clients. It is important for my clients to know that whatever they share, it is going to be with confidentiality from me, but also it is a place of non judgment. So over the years, I was creating a safe space that turned into a holding space. But I thought I started this when I started doing therapy. But the reality was I was doing it way before I became a therapist, which is the reason why I became a therapist. I was creating safe spaces and holding places for people my entire life. People have always come to me and said, let me share, let me talk to you about my problems. Can you fix it? Girl, I don't know. I am in 7th grade. What are you talking about? But that has been my experience my entire life. So even before I knew it, I was creating safe spaces, but I was holding it, and I was holding it in my womb. So one of the things that I know now as a therapist is that we experience sometimes what's called compassion fatigue. And it is when you take on the symptoms, the experiences, and the feelings that your clients are experiencing. I didn't know that years ago that I was experiencing compassion fatigue and that I was holding everyone else's stuff in my own womb. See, most women who identify themselves as nurturers, they hold stuff in the womb. Not only do you create this safe space, but you create a holding space for it. Like you take it in as it's yours and then you keep it. Like we don't release it. It's just there, which is one of the reasons why when clients come in and women start talking about some of their issues and their concerns, I ask them this really strange question and they chuckle and then I say, like, no, I'm serious. And so the question is, how many bowel movements a day do you have? And this is kind of how it goes. Yeah, I wait because they wait. And then they chuckle and they're like, you're so funny, Dr. Guy. And I was like, no, that wasn't a joke. Like, for real. How many bowel movements a day do you have? And then they will often respond with, well, it's not every day. Okay, so how often in a week? Well, I mean, it's not every week. Oh, okay, so just when was your last bowel movement? And what I will often hear from women is that they struggle with constipation. Now, they've been to the doctor, they take all different things, but they have no idea why they struggle with constipation. See, all this down here, it is connected to us, you guys. It is connected to the womb. So when you struggle with things like constipation, think about what's in your womb, what's holding space, what's creating some blockage, what is not allowing your natural energy to flow. There's something there. You may not know what it is, but typically it is. And so when I talk more about it, they realize as we're in our sessions week after week after week, and they're sharing and they're doing the work, guess what happens, you guys? They stop struggling with constipation. It is amazing. And in their head, they're like, oh, it just happened because I changed my diet. Well, did you change your diet? Nope. Well, I exercise. Did you start exercising? Nope. You didn't do any of those things, but you're struggling with constipation, or at least you were until you started doing the work because the womb needed to heal. And see, all that stuff we've been talking about, it's been sitting right here in your womb. You've been carrying it like a pregnancy, week after week, month after month, year after year, and it has been building up. So when you think about the womb, you guys, every and anything passes through the womb. But let me take it a step further, because maybe you're just like, well, that wasn't my life. Because I can really tell you, I have had an amazing life. I am so grateful for the people that are in my life, for my amazing parents, for the experiences that I've had, for the wins that I've had. I absolutely have no complaints. But I carry some trauma in my womb. If you are a living being, you are carrying some trauma in your womb. Because here's the kicker, you guys. Even before you got here, your mother passed on some of her trauma that was not dealt with and healed through the womb. So while you're sitting there trying to figure out, why am I this way? Why do I show up in front of people this way? Why is it a struggle for me to smile? Why do I feel angry when people say good morning? Why am I irritated all the time? Why do I identify my own self as a toxic human being? Well, it might be because not only are you carrying the trauma in your own womb, but you are carrying the trauma that passed down from your mother into your womb. But wait, we're not done. Because not only do we carry the trauma of our mothers in our womb, we carry the trauma of the generation before. So I am carrying whatever experiences my mother had, and my mother is carrying whatever experiences her mother had, I mean my grandmother. And it passes down from generation to generation until it is recognized that there is something sitting in the womb that is causing chaos and destruction. When we think about things like depression, we often take an external view of what people are experiencing, and we think this must be causing that. But it's not always causal, and it's not always external. Sometimes it is very internal. It is the conflict from within. It is that very thing that we have no idea, that we cannot see, but we can feel it. It is the very thing that lies in our womb, sometimes dormant, until there is an experience, or a sound, or a smell, or a trigger. So I want to give you an example of some experiences that I've had with clients. And I wish I could say this has only showed up in my office one time, but it's shown up more times than I can even count. So here's the example. Uh, I've worked with young girls, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all around those ages, who initial problem was because someone violated them sexually. And they were coming in to deal with their sexual trauma or their sexual abuse. And because I was working with a minor, I would often invite the mother to come in as a support system to support her daughter through this process that is absolutely extremely difficult and traumatic. And in the sessions, what I would often hear is that the mother would say, I understand how she feels because it happened to me. And it happened around the same age and probably by a very familiar person in the family. And so mom has some empathy because she went through the experience herself and understands that process. But mom will say, but I've never told anybody. Here is a grown woman sharing for the first time her sexual assault. What do you think she carried that in? She carried it in her womb. You think it exited when she got pregnant and said, okay, I'll be back after you had this baby? No. She carried it in her womb and continues to carry it. But it doesn't stop there because working with families, I often talk about the collective support system. So if there is a grandparent that is involved, bring them on in. This is a family affair. Therapy isn't just about one individual, it's about rebuilding and healing families. And so grandma comes on in. And guess what grandma says? Grandma says, well, yeah, I know. I know what it's like. It happened. It happened to me. And I was just around her age. But I survived. You guys, 3 generations carrying trauma in their womb. See, grandma typically comes from an experience in a time where people didn't air their dirty laundry outside of the house. That wasn't the custom. So she didn't talk about it. She didn't share it. So she carries that womb trauma. Daughter didn't share any of it, didn't tell anybody. She carries not only her own trauma in her womb, but the trauma that was passed down from her mother. And here is this sweet baby reliving the same experience. Talk about transgenerational curses. Whether people believe them or not is up to them. But what I know to be true is that I've seen these patterns several times. And we don't think about how this trauma, sexual abuse, physical abuse, a toxic relationship, low self esteem, lack of confidence, lack of self body image, all of these things are showing up in the womb. They don't just decide to disappear and go away, they just sit there. So when we talk about spaces, right? Because I gave you the example of you have this open void space, the womb, and imagine it just filling it with all of these things. What happens when it is filled with things like trauma, toxicity, anxiety, depression, pain? What happens when it is filled with all of those things? It does not give room to those other things that we enjoy, like happiness, peace, our creativity, or the mere enjoyment of just life. Because the womb is filled with so many other unhealthy and damaging things that there is no room for us to be who we are naturally born to be. These creative human beings who are filled with joy and happiness and love and peace. There's somebody that is going to watch this video and they have had an experience where they just don't feel happy. And they can't figure out why. And it's not because they don't have a good job. It's not because they don't have healthy relationships. They just wake up like, blah. And they haven't been able to put their finger on it. And because of this amazing thing called social media, they watch people in social media land who just genuinely look happy. And they cannot figure it out. Like, are these people really happy? Are they pretending to be happy? And if they're really happy, how they get that way? what they doing different than what I'm doing? Do they have a different job or occupation? Are they in a specific type of relationship? Is it the salary they make? Is it the clothes they wear? Is it the car they drive? Is it the house they live in? What is it that allows this person to just look happy and peaceful? But they can't figure it out. They have no idea. But this is also probably an individual who's been carrying trauma in her womb, but she won't talk about it. Because all too often, for some, the belief is if I do not talk about it, it did not exist. It did not happen. That is false. We do not talk about it does not mean it goes away. Because we do not share does not mean it leaves the womb. It remains there. Not only does it remain there, but it feeds on negativity, on toxicity, the very thing that this same person finds themselves engaging in. You guys know it, you've seen it. It's the person that will watch someone on social media who is doing absolutely amazing and they will post a negative comment. Say what? It is the person that engages in trolling just because they can. See, these are individuals typically who are carrying some stuff and they won't. They don't even know that they're carrying it in the room, but what they do know is how they are showing up. They are unhappy, they are unpleasant, and they are suffering in pain. Now, that's the most psychological stuff, but literally, they're probably in pain. So let me tell you about the second time I had my fibroids removed. So let's fast forward because the first time I was 27. Fast forward, the second time I am 36. And again, I am at my regular visit. And at this particular time, my doctor says, look here, ma'am, you running out of time. And I looked her dead in her eyeballs and said, for what? She said, ma'am, you don't have any kids. And your clock is ticking. I looked at her and I'm like, who's she talking to? I'm 36 with no kids. There's a reason for that, ma'am. So she said, look, your fibroids are back. They're large, and we don't have a lot of time to make the decision. So what you gonna do? Are you going to have another myomectomy? Or are you gonna take this prescription that absolutely it will shrink it temporarily? You'll still have most of your symptoms, but they're definitely still gonna grow back after that. Or there's the option of a hysterectomy. Well, at that time, you guys, at 36, I had already made a decision way before that. I didn't want kids at that point in my life. I'd already made that decision. Now, whoever is listening to this video or will listen to this video and wants to judge me because I am a woman who decided that I don't want no kids, it is my business and my prerogative. And guess what? I need to speak to you women directly because there are so many women that shame other women. I'm going to call it womb shaming. Because you want to walk around with your nose up in the air because you are a mother and frown down on the women and think that they are less than anything that you are because they don't have kids. Don't stop to think that, oh, there's a reason why you don't have kids. It could be biological, physical, or plain old, it just wasn't their call. See, I had to get to a place in life where I understood that my femininity and my womanhood was not defined by what society said my womb needed to do. I didn't need to give birth to a child for you to tell me that I am a woman. I wake up every day as a woman, and for over 20 something years, I've led every month as a woman. I understand what that means. But this message is for women that womb shame other women who do not have kids. Baby, let me tell you what it's like. See, I'm 46 now, and I still don't have kids, and I will never have kids. And even today at 46, people will walk up to me and talk to me. Oh, so you're married and this. So do you have kids? Mm-mm. Well, when are you gonna start? Who are you talking to? I'm 46. Who's starting at 46? Not her, not she, not I. And then it's always followed by, well, why you don't have kids? I have to gain my composure because that's a personal spot for me. Because I made a decision and I stood on that decision. But because the world sees mothers as something else and women who don't have kids as less than, that is a problem. Because I have never been less than and never will be less than because I chose not to have kids. So for any woman that watches this video who has been womb shamed, I apologize for people's insincerity and for not understanding. For the women who just cannot have kids and more than anything want that, I apologize that you have those experiences. Because I know I'm not alone. I know I am not the only woman who has been womb shamed. I know that for a fact. I'm not the only, but I do know how it feels when it is done to you. It is made so that you can feel less than, or it's done to make you feel like you are less than. As if because your path was different than their path, there is something wrong with you. No, it's not. There is a different choice. But I digress. Let me get back. Talking about that second myomectomy. Yeah. So she said, you either have a myomectomy, take these pills that are going to give you these amazing side effects, and they're going to shrink and grow back up in 6 months, or do a hysterectomy. Again, because I didn't want kids at that time, I was like, we can do the hysterectomy. You ready? Well, because my doctor said I was 36 and I did not have kids, I still had time to plan. Okay. So we decided to do another myomectomy. I had my second myomectomy in 2014. Now, let me tell y'all what was going on before 2014. When I tell you that I lived experiences are the very things that create this womb trauma. So prior to 2014, I was in a whirlwind of life. When I tell you I was going through it, when I say going through it, I mean literally going through it. Like, help me, Jesus, on my knees, crying at night, Lord, please take us, like all that good stuff, y'all. Like, I know some of y'all have been there. You understand. See, that was my experience up to 2014. So by the time 2014 hit, oh, look here. These fibroids was back with a vengeance. Not only were they large in size, but the pain. Oh my goodness. Ooh, pain. The pain was excruciating. It was almost as if all of the pain that I was going through in those last couple of years, I was experiencing it every month. Like, what? Say this ain't so. So she could have told me anything, and I would have been willing to say, okay, sign me up as long as you can stop this pain. See, again, I still wasn't aware of the trauma work by that time. I didn't know about the wound needing healing at that time. It wasn't until after the second surgery that I understood that the wound had to heal. So I had the surgery. And because I had had the first one, I kind of knew what to expect. And I thought, oh, this is a breeze. After my first surgery, I was up and walking, taking stairs, literally a week after the surgery. I was good. Let me tell you, the second surgery at 36 didn't go the same way. So the first time I was in the hospital for 5 days. The second time I was in the hospital for only 3 days. And when I discharged, I thought, surely she left a tool inside of me and they need to send me back to the hospital so she can get it out. Like the pain was unbearable. Literally, I was in so much pain every single time I took a breath, which meant I was in pain all the time. Just getting up to go to the bathroom was a task. I was in excruciating pain. Now remember, I had an incision from my belly button all the way down. So she went through the same incision. But this time the pain was different. I don't know, y'all. I was like, something's really wrong. It took me longer to heal and to bounce back. But when I look back now, I realized what was different. Number one, I wasn't in my 20s. Number two, I did not have the same routine I had in my 20s. I was not working out on a regular basis. I was not eating healthy and eating clean. I was doing all of the things that I probably shouldn't have been doing, which is the reason why my body said, nah, boo, you ain't bouncing back this time. So all that stuff that I was going through psychologically, emotionally, it was in the womb. And even though I had physically removed the toxicity of the fibroids, they was no longer there. I still felt it in the womb like it was. I still carried the pain right here and it sat there. And it took a minute for me to realize, oh, it's gone. But then my journey began. Then I understood the power of the womb and how to take care of the womb and how to take care of your yoni and the importance of doing all of those things that I had not been doing previously. I understood that, again, there are things that are transgenerational that pass down from one to the next, to the next. And they repeat in cycles. And because you do not talk about it, does not mean it did not happen. So I started doing my work. Like, you guys, as a therapist, I am always going to say you need a therapist if you are a therapist. If you are doing work in the field and you don't have your own therapist, shame on you. So I said, oh, I need to talk to my therapist. I need to do some work. I need to dig deep. I need to peel back some layers. I need to understand what is going on. And this is where I got a better understanding about the difference between creating a safe space and a holding space. And why for years I was still holding everybody's trauma, everybody's pain, everybody's grief, everybody's story. I wasn't just holding it for the safety of it, I was just holding it. My womb was filled with things that it should not have been filled with. And my fibroids was a physical representation of what I was doing to myself psychologically. I'm going to repeat that again in case somebody missed it. My fibroids were a physical representation in my womb of what I was doing psychologically. I hope somebody gets that. I hope somebody replays this, shares this, understand that the things that we experience that we will write off as, oh, that's physiological, psychological, how, what, I guess it's not real. Stop it. It is. Because it crystallizes and it shows up as physical symptoms. The person who has not dealt with the pain and trauma in her womb might experience symptoms like headaches. Not just headaches, but migraines. Let me tell you about this one client. I always ask about medical history because it's important to know in their initial session. And so she says, oh, I have headaches. I said, oh, okay. Well, what's the frequency? She said, every day. And I said, every day? She said, every day. And I said, well, have you been to the doctor? She said, no, why? Don't everybody have headaches every day? Say what? No. Mm-mm. They don't. No. Mm-mm. That's not the case. Nobody is having headaches every day unless there is a reason why they're having headaches every day. And if there is no medical, because see, this is why I got to send you to your medical doctor, because we have to make sure there isn't anything medically wrong that's causing the headaches. And when we find that out, we understand, oh, this is a deeper problem. Oh, this is a real deeper problem. See, this is a problem that's been here for a minute. You didn't get to the migraine headaches every day because you ignored some stuff for a week. You didn't even get to the migraine headaches every day because you ignored something for maybe some months. See, this is some years of ignoring. See, the body has this amazing way of trying to communicate to us and say, hey, we got some issues, let's deal with it. Hey, there's some trauma in this womb, let's deal with it. Oh, you don't want to? Go ahead, take that headache. Go ahead, take that headache. Oh, but if that doesn't hit home for somebody, then let me try to reel it in a little bit more, right? Like this is the person who just always has an upset stomach. Like you don't even know, like it doesn't matter what you eat, when you eat it, how you eat it, your stomach seems to always reject it. You are running around with acid reflux pills, Pepto Bismol, and all that good stuff in your purse right now. Because your womb is trying to tell you there is a problem here, you guys. We got to fix it. So, all of these things that we experience as women is carried in our womb. And if we do not take the time to heal this womb, baby, you are creating a legacy that you do not want to leave behind. So, one of the reasons why I have decided to transition over from working with clients full time to coaching other therapists full time is because I understand the need for us to reach a larger group of people. And it is impossible for me to reach the masses of individuals that need healing and clarity and understanding and insight, the very thing that they need to be able to start doing the work to heal this womb. But you're not only just healing your womb for you healing your womb for the generations to come. See, some of us can be a bit selfish and be like, well, I'm okay with it. I can deal with a little pain. I can deal with a migraine. I can deal with some upset stomachs. I can deal with some severe cramp. I can deal with all that pain. I can deal with the back pains that I have. I can deal with the knots that I get all the time in my neck and in my back. I can deal with it. Yeah, you can. But can your daughter? Can your granddaughter? Can your great great granddaughter deal with it? At some point, when we talk about this womb work and healing the womb, this is beyond us just doing it for us. This is for your legacy. These are for your kids, kids, kids. So, this is why I decided to do a three-part series on the power of the womb. And today was just about so, what is it? How does it show up? Next week, same time, Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, we're going to talk about how do you start healing the womb? What does it look like? What are the first steps? How do you know it's working? How long does it take? All those questions that people normally ask me when I start talking about womb work and healing. Now, some of them I will be able to answer, and others I cannot. I just can't. I don't have those answers. But I do know that there is absolute power in the womb. And when we tap into that power, we are literally unstoppable. As I prepare to wrap up, I just want to close out with this. I need you to understand the greatness that is within us, and it's here. There is no other species that, as they say, can make a dollar out of 15 cents. When you talk to women who literally do the like impossible, where do you think that's coming from? That's coming from the womb. Is their understanding of their greatness and their power. It is the ability to know that what I harvest in here that's called life, it's not just giving birth to a human being, it's giving life to people. I don't have kids, you guys, but can't nobody tell me that I wasn't called on this earth to give life to people. It looks different. I get it. But I do know that giving life does not just come from your womb of a biological birth. Giving life comes from the understanding of the power in your womb. So, look here, you guys, it is about that time to wrap up. So, I could literally go on and on and on because I'm pretty loquacious and I like to talk. But I know it's late, and for anybody that is joining me on the East Coast, it is even later. So, what I will ask you, if you are not already following me on YouTube at Dr. Tanisha Guy, on Facebook at Dr. Tanisha Guy, on TikTok at Dr. Tanisha Guy, and on Instagram at Dr. Tanisha Guy. Please go follow me, and not only follow me, but share this video, you guys. And I hope you come back next Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, but don't come back by yourself. You better bring a friend, a sister, a daughter, a mother, because we're going to talk about how you heal this wound, not just for you, but for your legacy. Good night, you guys. Don't forget to come back next week. Thanks a lot.